there's only so many people that God gave that gift to, okay? And so others aren't going to have that ability. Golf is one of those things that it is a great equalizer.
Welcome to the OnPar podcast. I'm your host, Drew D'Alberto, along with Sean Kicker, as always.
How you doing, Drew?
Oh, happy to have you again, Sean. I'm always good when I'm on the air with you, man.
Outstanding.
All right, so today we want to kind of, I made this observation and we talked about it a little bit, but I want to dive in. From the people that I have met over the last 4 or 5 years since I've been playing golf, whether it be for business or just for fun or just going out on the golf course, I've found that guys that get into golf want to just get out on the course and play and have a good time, and some of them care how they play, some of them don't. And women that I've met that are taking lessons 3-4 times a month and practicing are hesitant and afraid to get out on the golf course. So I don't know if that's been your observation as well.
Well, you've opened up a whole can of worms there, Drew. I mean,
I hope we don't get canceled on week 2, right?
Men in general, like, no, I don't need to read the instructions. You're putting together a piece of furniture and there's 18 spare pieces. Well, but it's together, It's the same concept with golf. I don't need to take golf lessons, and they got a golf swing that looks like, there's all kinds of adjectives that you could use for that, but it ain't looking good. I can tell you that right now. It ain't looking good
is about summing it up.
And they're like, God, let's just go. It's like going out in the double black diamond when you've just learned how to put a pair of skis on because your buddies play.
And so we'll agree that that's probably not the best way. And there's ways to get around it. You can play in a scramble. If you're a good putter or you're good at chipping or you can hit the ball a mile off the tee, you can join a charity scramble and pay $100 or $150 or $200 and jump in on that. And you're still valuable and you're having fun. And those things are sometimes more drinking event than golf tournament.
Well, you just nailed it right on the head. It really comes down to what are your objectives, right? Do you want to be good at this game, or do you just want it to be a social, fun kind of thing? And just looking at the statistics, and we've talked about this before, 80% of the people that play this game never break 100. And so, I have a bad day and I'm shooting 82.
Yeah.
Like a really bad day, I'm using explicatives bad day, right, and I'm shooting 82, which is 10 over par, which is most days that's a fantastic golf day.
I know a few guys that if they shoot over 73, they're having a horrible day, and right, there's very few of those. You're though. Right. But and let's go back to the ladies, because we know Sarah Brogley well, we know Aria Levitt, we know some of these other ladies that don't mind us mentioning their name, but Sarah's an exception because she'll get out on the course now. But my friend Tatiana, another friend Leah, we'll have all these folks on the podcast later in the year to talk about this, but they're taking lessons, whether it be once a month at Legs, or they have a pro that they're taking lessons from, or they have a great golfer in their family that, played semi-professional, but they just are hesitant. And that's not good either, right? Because if you never play, what's the point of taking the lessons?
Look, the general nature of the women tends to be that they don't want to do something wrong. Okay, they want to be doing everything right, but the truth of the matter is there's a whole lot to learn: where to stand, what to do, how to do. And for a lot of women, it's like you're in driving school and you're out in the left-hand lane in I-95 and people are honking at you, okay, because people have no patience for it, especially male golfers to a certain extent. For years and years and years, ladies weren't even allowed to play on the golf course. They were just not allowed. And then all of a sudden it was, well, we have to let the ladies play, so let's let them play one day a week. Or if they have to play after 12 o'clock on a weekend. Those days were still around when I was coming up as a young professional. I remember them very clearly. So our industry, historically speaking, hasn't been inviting to women, and to a great extent, we are doing a much better job of helping them feel more comfortable. But it all comes down to the training and the expectations and just the fun factor, where they want to have fun. But it's a game that takes 4 hours to play 18 holes, and that's if you're playing expeditiously. That's not just out there reading every putt and taking your time with it. That's moving moving at a pretty good clip.
Yeah,
So
you don't have people in front of you that are playing super slow, or people that are chasing you up and making you slower and things like that.
Yeah.
So how do you find the happy medium?
Yeah,
what's the advice to men and the advice to women? And not all women and all men, obviously, but you've got these strong-willed, competitive people. Many of them are business owners, or they're in business development, or they're a 1099 and they're making their own money, and they use golf for networking and business purposes. How do you marry? How do you get the good out of this side and the bad and put them in the happy medium?
Yeah, that's a great question, Drew. And it starts with your ability to strike a ball. Because if you can't strike a ball knowing that you're going to move it forward, being on the golf course is very frustrating, all right? Where it just becomes, Spalding in, what's the show in Caddyshack where he's topping the ball all the way down the fairway, and more grass is flying than ball. Nobody wants to play golf under those conditions, and nobody wants to play with anyone who's doing that as well. So the first thing you got to do is you got to be fairly proficient at moving the ball forward. You're not whiffing it, you're not shanking it, but it's moving forward. That's number one, okay? And that's going to take you a little bit of time. You're going to have to go through a series of lessons. You got to find a pro that's offering group clinics at first, and this is what I love about what Sarah Broley does with Legs, the Ladies Executive Golfers. It's a group setting. Everyone can get together. They have lessons, and it's fun. It's networking, and it's a good time. Transitioning that into the golf course is you're going to have to take 6 to 12 group sessions before you're comfortable enough to go out. And then you know what you do? You play one hole, okay? You start with just one hole. One hole turns into 3 holes. 3 holes turns into 6 holes, 9 holes, etc. You know what I mean? And that's how you build yourself up. Skiing, you don't go double black diamond right from the start. You start the bunny slopes and you work your way up all of the different colors. I'm not even going to pretend to know what those colors are because I'm not a skier, but I understand the concept of it. And all too often the beginner golfer is, you got to join Drew's group and you're going to go play in this tournament, or we're going to go play golf today and we're going to go play Dural's red course, which is got water all over the place. The greens are slopey and speedy. It's not a course for beginners. Cooper Colony is a great place to go as a beginner. Orange Brook is a great place to go as a beginner. Bridges of Springtree, short golf courses that don't have really, really quick, speedy greens and deep bunkers and water everywhere. That's how to do it.
Okay. So how do you go and play one hole? What courses will some of those courses you mentioned let you do that? Just, hey, can I play one hole?
But that's where the instructor comes in.
Okay.
Where if you're doing a series of lessons, like I will do a series of lessons for beginners, there's a program called Get Golf Ready. We'd go through our ball striking series, and then let's go play one hole to see what it's like. Because, like I said, if you got 4 people, they don't even know how to play the game, right? You got to know where to stand. You got to know what club to hit, right? You got to know who goes next, and so on and so forth. Pick up your feet, rake the bunkers, remove the flagstick, who tees off where, how to tee it up.
And these are things that you're not going to learn by watching YouTube or Instagram golf pros and things like that, because they don't, it can give you all the tips in the world, but everybody's swing is a little bit different, right?
No doubt about it. And you have to be very careful, and we'll talk about this in many future episodes, with what you're watching. And it's the guys that shoot 90s, 80s that are obsessed with getting better, but they don't go to a pro and take lessons. So they'll watch all kinds of these swing tips and video tips, not even realizing that you're only talking about, they're only highlighting one little portion of the golf swing without the context of everything that comes before or goes after. So it's like, oh, I'm working on this. And we talked about this in your particular golf swing where you were trying to shallow the club, stop coming over the top, stop hitting slices. And it's great. We do it. We get that club shallower, but then your body's out of position. And even worse, and is I'm going to ask you what comes next. You don't know where the face is anymore. Okay? So there's so many other elements to this that if you don't know what comes next or what goes before, you need the help of a professional with you and tailor make it for you.
We used to have a saying when I taught personal defense, if you practice crap, you just become a crap master.
There you go.
So the idea is, and we talked about this in the first show a little bit, is, you have to learn the right technique and then practice. That's the only way you can get good at anything.
Tons and tons and tons of it.
16,000 swings, my instructor tells me, right?
Whenever one of my students hits the shot and nails that technique, I'm like, congratulations, 16,000 more, let's go.
I compressed the iron on Saturday perfectly. You said do 16,000 more. I know it well. So,
and the reason why I say that is because you don't own that move yet,
right.
Okay? You're not even on a 36-month lease. You're running out to the meter putting quarters in there, buddy.
At least I can putt.
Yeah, you got to put a lot of quarters in there before you're even leasing that swing or that move,
right
and
on.
You don't own it. And I got news for you: even the pros sometimes don't own it for very long,
right
and
on.
they're back to leasing it again from week to week to week, if that makes sense.
Got it. So, give us an example of one of the pros that recently has either turned around positively or negatively.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I'm going to pull my notes out about the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Okay, it's one of the longest running Pro-Ams on the PGA Tour. And Justin Rose won this week, and he hasn't won in several years. And he just switched out his entire equipment package. Which most pros don't want to do. They're very, very fickle about it. But he put a whole new set of irons in play right before this tournament. And we'll have future episodes where we talk about the importance of equipment and fitting and how that plays into really getting those scores lower for those players that are able to break 90 and able to break 80. The equipment is everything.
Yeah, I saw an article about Max Homa as well, that, he had, 5 wins in his first whatever years, and now he's winning.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
So let's talk about, and part of the reason why I'm working on my swing now is because I didn't start early, right? You started at 12, you said you wish you started earlier.
Yeah, no doubt.
So what are some of the advantages to having kids play golf early in life?
Oh, well, I mean, some of the things that we see, and this is what we're seeing with the first tee, they are improving in school because golf requires a level of focus and attention, and that just sort of carries over into everything else that they do. We get kids that come to us the first 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Sometimes they attend 3 or 4 sessions. Sometimes it takes over a year, where kids have the ADHD and the attention deficit and they're hyper and they just can't focus. A year later, same kid, it's unbelievable, where this kid couldn't make eye contact with you. Now all of a sudden, they're shaking hands with you and having a conversation. And that's the skill set that happens with golf, because it's different than other sports, right? You're out there with someone for 4 hours, and everyone's encouraging of other people too. So you learn how to be a champion for others, rather than all these other sports that you're watching where, they're faking fouls and yelling at refs and everything else. There's no referee in golf. It's your responsibility to call the penalties on yourself.
And it's probably easier for you since I call you the kid whisperer. I mean, I remember we came here to VoiceBox PCS grand opening before we started doing our podcast here, and a little kid was sitting in there and gave you a high five when you walked in, and I was like, oh, how do you know her? And you're like, I don't know her.
I don't. I just love dude, I love kids, man, and they love me. They just always have.
Yeah.
My wife says I'm a baby, whatever it is. I just love, I see a baby, I just smile at the baby. It's just something that I've always done, man.
Yeah, one thing I have to ask you is, I hear all the time that it's really hard to get athletic scholarships to college, but if you're playing golf, it's a little bit easier. And I hear that it's even especially easier for young girls, girls that are going to high school and playing on their golf team. So is that a myth, or is that a real thing on boys and girls in general and girls specifically?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, Drew, and I hear it all the time, and I hear it from parents all the time because they hear it, and it's out there. I mean, the truth of the matter is comparatively speaking, when you're talking about collegiate football, collegiate basketball, and other sports, it's more than just talent. You got to have what God gave you. In other words, most of these athletes, they're 6 foot plus, right? They're 6 foot to 7 foot tall. They're 200 plus pounds, and they're fast, agile, and so on and so forth. There's only so many people that God gave that gift to, okay? And so others aren't going to have that ability. Golf is one of those things that it is a great equalizer. When you look at the body types of different professionals out there, you've got everything across the board, and they've become much more athletic, which is making it even more of a challenge for the average Joe or Jane to get out there and play collegiate golf. But there's, if you're going to be a Division I college athlete, you still got to be at a very, very high level. So the full scholarships are just as difficult to come by as any other sport, but there's lots of Division II and Division III colleges that are looking for girls to fill their rosters. The problem is most of those are not big universities. They don't have huge endowments. They don't have full scholarships. So they're going to look to recruit you to be on their team, but it's probably still going to cost you $20,000 a year. That's with scholarships to be part of a golf team.
Okay, fair enough. So it's sort of a myth and sort of not a myth, I guess, is what I'm getting.
Yeah, it's a yes and a no kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Can you give us a drill we can work on this week, or something that we can spend time on? Pro tip of the day. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. Most people do not know how to practice properly. All right, and so they spend a whole lot of time with just hitting drives. Drive. And so if you learn how to practice appropriately, you'll become a better golfer. And this kind of goes down to the people that are shooting 100 and under. If you're still shooting over 100, you've got ball striking problems. You've got control issues. But, the first thing that you should do is you should go to the putting green, okay? And where I also see people run is they'll bring 3 golf balls and they'll go up to a hole and they'll start really close to a hole. And I don't like that. I do the opposite. I teach them to go long putts from one side of the green to the other side of the green 10 times. Okay? What that's going to do is it's going to give you a feel for what the overall speed is, what the grain is. It's going to give you an idea of what the overall slope is. Okay? So you're going to be able to read greens better when you're putting long putts from one side of the green to the other. Then you go to 30 feet. How do you measure 30 feet when you don't want to point 10 meters? 10 paces.
Pace it out,
10
yeah,
paces,
of course.
okay? And you're going to hit, again, 10 putts, right? Your goal is to make it from 30 feet. If you don't make it, you want to keep it within 3 feet so it's an easy second putt, okay? Then you're going to go 15 feet, 3 paces, same thing. 10 balls. You're trying to make them. But you leave it within a few feet, you're going to be good. 6 feet, 2 paces. Again, now you're really focusing on how many out of 10 can I make from 6 feet. And then 3 feet is just 1 pace away. This is when I break out a little putting mirror. And these are little putting mirrors. They're, you put them in the ground, you put the ball in, you get your eyes over the putt, and then you can really start focusing on refining the technique of the stroke, the face, so on and so forth. You're looking to make 10 in a row. Once you make 10 in a row, you reverse the trend, okay? You bring the mirror with you, you set up, you do a 6-foot putt. How many out of 10 did you make from 6 feet? 15 feet, 30 feet. You're done. That's your practice putting routine. It's 90 putts.
Okay.
At least 90 putts. If you miss any of the 10 in a row, you're going to have to do it more. So it's 90 putts. Think about that. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to get a ball tube, and you've seen me with these metal ball tubes. They come in plastic. They generally hold 22, 23 golf balls. You're going to go to the chipping green, and you're going to use a less lofted club. One of the biggest mistakes that I see is everyone wants to reach for that high lofted club because they're closer to the green. No, learn how to roll the ball on the green. 9-iron, 7-iron, 8-iron, something like that. Keep it low, let it roll. You're looking for 23 balls to various targets, so you're going to have to change your alignment, change your aim, get a feel for it. You're going to do that 2 to 3 times. Okay, so you're talking 46 to 69, 7. Again, a lot of shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go over the pitching area, and you're going to go from 20 yards, 30 yards, 40 yards, 50 yards, 60 yards. I set up little cones, and I pace it off, and I hit one tube from each one. It's 115 shots. Okay. Last, I go to the driving range, and we start with the most lofted club, and you're going to hit 5 to 10 balls each. Sand wedge, skip the pitching wedge, go to the 9, 7 iron, 5 iron, fairway wood, driver. 5 to 10 drives. That's it, okay? On another day, you'll come back, you'll do the same routine, but you'll do the even clubs. Pitching wedge, 8 iron, 6 iron, 4 iron, hybrid and driver. 30 to 60 full swings. That's it.
Interesting. I've never heard anybody say that before, so I'm glad you shared that with the audience. What if can we break that up into several days? Because not everybody, people that are going to be listening to this have a 9-to-5 job or a business they're working 10 hours a day.
No doubt. You can scale this down to an hour.
Okay.
1 hour. And most people, they'll spend an hour at the driving range anyways, okay? So you can scale it down however you want, but the majority of it needs to be putting, chipping, pitching. And the rest, take care of itself. And I'll get into that more in future episodes as to why that particular practice routine is important and how that plays into managing your way around the golf course.
Perfect. So thank you, Sean. So I want to go ahead and thank our sponsors one more time. One is Malia Archie at VoiceBox PCS, where we actually are sitting right now and doing this show every week. And then the second is Steady Returns. As 10,000 Americans turn 70 every single day over the next decade, our country will be experiencing a healthcare shortage and an unavoidable crisis. At Steady Returns, we have multiple investment portfolio strategies to choose from that focus on turning this crisis into an opportunity to grow your wealth. Are you looking for a new investment portfolio manager? Do you want Steady Returns? Set your appointment with Chris Burr at steady-returns.com. And last but certainly not least, Megacore CBD. Not all CBD products are created equal. Megacore CBD products are safe, effective, fast-acting, and organic. Megacore products are designed for your active lifestyle by providing natural relief from your everyday stress. If you don't have the pain stick in your golf bag from Megacore CBD, you're making a huge mistake.
Yeah, and I can attest to this as well. I was never into the cannabis or the marijuana or any of that stuff, but everyone kept talking about how CBD tends to be an anti-inflammatory, and I was having, I'm in my 50s now, just getting out of bed in the morning was becoming a challenge, and I was aching, and I'd play 13 holes and I'd be done, where my body was just saying, hey buddy, shut it down. I've been taking the CBD for about a year and a half, and you don't hear me complain anymore. I can finish a round of golf. I get out of bed and I get out of a chair without the
Right.
So the stuff works, and I'm the most non-placebo type of guy. I'll believe that. You'll tell me that it works, and I'll say no, it doesn't work. But I took it, and I took it, and I took it, and it works.
MegacoreCBD.com. If you use promo code MEGA10, you'll get 10% off your first order. Thanks as always, Sean. That concludes this edition of the OnPar podcast. We'll see you guys next week.